talk about discipline versus regret. Which one is more painful for you, to be disciplined and stick with something, or to regret that you didn't? That's what we're diving into today. Hey, everybody, welcome to another Kristen and Charlie chat where we are talking today about the pain of discipline versus the pain of regret. Which one is more painful to you? And before we even dive in, we want to make sure that we have the correct lens on our eyes and ears as we're talking about the word discipline today. We're not talking about discipline in terms of what everyone tends to think about, punishment. Maybe that's where the pain side comes from. We're talking about discipline in terms of creating good habits, stick with itness, honoring your agreements, lots of the other principles that we've talked about on these chats. So today we're going to talk about what is the pain of that a lot of us have with creating good habits and sticking with things versus the pain of, oh my God, I should have been disciplined because look where I am now. So let's dive into that, Charlie.
All right, sounds good. Self-discipline, right? That's what you're saying is it's not about being the authority, the parent, the leader, and going out and disciplining others. What we're focused on in this one is self-discipline. It's what are we doing to keep ourselves aligned with our goals and things like that to stay on track. And regret. We've read books, and one thing you always hear is that nobody on their dying bed says, "I wish I spent more time in the office. I wish I bought more toys. I wish I." All these things that people seem to regret that they didn't spend more time with their family and things. And I know from reading and hearing different examples of regret later on in life that I don't want to be there. You know, I don't want to lose focus of what's truly important. And regret weighs tons where discipline weighs ounces. And discipline it's a scary word, but chunked down. Like day one, start the discipline, whether it's a workout, whether it's a new eating, whether it's going to bed earlier, whether it's getting up earlier. So all these new things we introduce into our lives it isn't a habit, right? We have a habit maybe of doing what isn't working. So we are now saying, I want to change that. And what does it take? It takes a goal. It takes by December 31st at 3 p.m., I want to lose 5 pounds. Okay. So now what do I need to do? I got to break it down. So 3 times a week, I'm going to, let's say, do a 2-mile walk. And I'm not going to be eating past 8 p.m. Well, I'm not doing that now. So that means I might need to have some discipline. And so then I do the 2-mile walk, feel good about it. Yay. First thing done. No eating past 8. Yay. And as I keep doing this, I'm moving from disciplining myself, which takes awareness. Like all of a sudden the story's starting to come in on, today isn't the best day to walk. It's a little cold, and my dog looks like he's too tired. And that's where myself is fighting discipline. And I said, no, I'm not going to go down that. I don't want to have that story. I'm going to push through. And you and I both know, Kristen, how much better we feel when we say, wait a minute, I'm keeping my agreement to myself. I'm not interested. I'm committed. It's like I take responsibility. Mm-hmm. It's like, darn it, there's no wiggle room. Why say I'm going to do this if I'm really not? Who am I helping by saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to start doing this," and then I don't. You know, people that do that a lot, like all around me, neighbors, but just people say. I mean, the intention is there, and the interest is there, but like we said in our video that we haven't done yet, that the interest sparks something. Maybe it lights a bit of a flame, but that has to move because flames burn out. That has to move into commitment. And commitment, then that opens the door for the rest of the things we need to do to stay on track, on course.
Well, yeah, and I think that I don't think I know that once you make the commitment, and you said the magic word, goal, have the goal to get to be committed to, and have the discipline to achieve it. For me, and probably for a lot of people that are watching and listening, that's where the pain comes in because the sticking to it when there's so many other things that are attractive in the beginning of setting a new habit and being disciplined to achieve a goal. There's so many things that can pull you off course. So it is a little painful to have to make that choice to stay on course, stay disciplined, take the steps, create the habit to achieve the goal. But I can promise everyone that feels that way or might be in the midst of the pain part of that now, not only does staying disciplined and the pain of that is far less weight than the weight of the regret for not staying disciplined, it actually starts to create this momentum and you eventually start to see all the perks and benefits and the feel good that comes from that discipline. It's almost like you have to walk through the fire, right? The pain of changing all those bad habits to stay disciplined, walk through that fire to get to the other side where it is like, oh my goodness. And I know I use my running thing a lot. I always said I'm not a runner. I can chase a soccer ball for hours, but for just running for running's sake, it was not my thing. But when I started realizing it was first, I wanted to be more comfortable in my jeans, to be perfectly honest. Then it was, oh, wait a minute. I realized how good my brain could think when I was really in a groove running. And then when I was done, I'd have all this creative explosion after a run. And then, I mean, now I will not skip workouts because I feel so stinking good. Everything, all of my brain is firing, my body feels great, and it's a wonderful added bonus that I fit into my jeans, and that's not even on my radar anymore. It's more about how I feel, how productive I am. But I'm telling you, the pain of sticking to it and avoiding the excuses. I actually did a lot of mindset research on the fact that, and Charlie, you've said this a bunch of times, motivation is motivation. It comes and it goes. You really have to have that commitment because nobody really wakes up and says, I'm going to go do a 2 hour workout or I'm going to run hills and it's going to be amazing. I didn't feel like it every day. And once I knew that that was a scientific thing that most people don't feel like getting out there and doing their thing, it's like, oh, that changed everything for me. But honestly, I don't necessarily feel like it, but I do know all the benefits that come from it. And that is what keeps me going and keeps me enjoying how I'm going to feel afterwards. It's like you really do have to go through that fire to appreciate the cool on the other side.
Because it releases dopamine, which is a happy chemical, which is a accomplish, a celebration, celebrate your win. It does a lot of it. It releases gratitude. That's the mind. That is what helps keep us moving forward. And like you said, the pain of regret, and there's real deep regret, and there's I'm mad at myself for skipping, blowing off, not following through, whatever that is. That isn't, a deep regret. It's like I need to not do that again and find out what became more important. How did I convince myself? What do I need to do to course correct that? And I think that's like you said, if you're gonna wait to feel like going through your inbox. If you're going to wait to feel like weeding the garden, go working out, you will never do any of it because that the feeling comes when you're done.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. If I felt good before the workout, why work out? You know, it's not that I feel bad, but if I got the results, because that's what I'm looking to feel. When I feel like working out, I will. Good luck. I'll never work out because I can't get that result unless I do the exercise. So when I was timing myself because I'm a I like to move around a lot, and I don't like to stay focused on things too long because my mind says there's something else to do, something more exciting than this boring task. So I would set a timer, and the first few times I set it for 60 minutes, and it felt like 12 hours. And I'm like, and I couldn't get up. I couldn't go get a handful of cashews. I couldn't do anything but stay focused on the task. That's discipline. And it's like, oh my gosh, I would look at the timer and go, well, something's wrong with my phone. It's slowed down. And then I'd put it down and get back. But I completed it. That discipline of not jumping and just let me just see if an email came in or let me just see what's going on over here because it takes my attention away. No, I am going to stay disciplined. And yeah, I get healthier, better, stronger. I get more enjoyment out of life. I feel better. I there's so many benefits than to walk around going, oh, darn it, I suck. I can't believe it. You know, that automatic negative thoughts. You want to trigger selfishness, self-loathing, resentment, fear. You want to dishonesty. You want to trigger all that side of the human. Well, basically, don't have goals, don't have commitments, don't have agreements that you if you honor the things that are important to you, I think success is guaranteed.
I agree. I agree, and it's not that it's success is for the lucky ones. Like so many people say to me, I can't even tell you how many people say, "Must be nice to be so lucky to be thin," and I'm like, "What the? Are you kidding me? How hard I work to fit into those jeans?" But or what I get all the time. It must be nice to be so lucky to live in a town where you live so that you could raise blind kids to thrive. My town's not like your town. I'm like, is it? Or when people called and said, oh, I guess, Michael's lucky that he went to Penn State. Should I send my blind kid there? It sounds like that's where you can thrive as a blind student. I'm like, no, it sucked. Just like every other school, the world is not built for blindness. You have to have the discipline. Actually, let's switch into that for a second. Talk about raising kids with blindness and visual impairment and talk about discipline to not only be disciplined as a parent to make sure you are staying on course with the right expectations. I don't like to say high expectations. The right expectations of the child, the school systems, the people working with them, right? Have the discipline to stick with it, but also to model and instill that discipline in our kids to not do the blaming, complaining, excuses, to take responsibility. Really, Charlie, I'm starting to think that raising blind and visually impaired kids to thrive it's a practice in discipline of keeping the root of all things responsibility with them because I feel like that's where it all boils down to with my boys that they were disciplined in taking responsibility and from that is where they soared. Yes, all these other principles, they believed things were possible and they believed in themselves, but at the root of it, it was really a discipline in taking responsibility. And I'm actually sitting here thinking about my sighted daughter. It's the same thing. It's in raising all kids, not discipline in punishment, discipline in having them stick to taking responsibility and moving up and on from there. You think about it, Charlie, in the mentor chat in Thriving Blind Academy, you were talking about, you made brought up the example of Mitch in the lunchroom in sophomore year when he had no one to sit with in the first week of school, and how, oh my gosh, my heart skips a beat when I think about it. It was one of the hardest weeks as a mom of my life. And it took everything in me to stay disciplined, to making him stay disciplined in taking responsibility. And boy, Mitchell can look, he's won every debate he's ever been in. he, he's been debating since probably in the womb. Um, and he came at me with every possible excuse, workaround, all the things for me to handle that problem for him. And thank God that was a very, very painful week. But thank God I stuck with the discipline of making him take responsibility, because now he's a sophomore in college, and to be perfectly honest, he went very close to home. He was afraid to go away. Let's just call it what it is. He was, not that he was afraid, he was nervous about going too far from home for several different reasons. Now he's saying to me, Mom, I'm investigating these other schools. This one doesn't have everything I need for the major. I'm looking at cost versus this. He's analyzing the entire thing himself. He's taken full responsibility for his education. Could you imagine the weight of the regret that I would have right now had I not been through that week and others exactly like it along this journey, being disciplined in and staying through the fire to the cool side of it, as opposed to getting us out quick and then having the regret now that we never had that discipline. I mean, can you even fathom that, Charlie?
Well, yes, because I've seen it all around with being in the
Yeah.
industry for so many years. I've seen many, many, many young adults and children come in that were enabled. The parents were not disciplined. They
Mm.
could not, they kept doing for them what they could do for themselves. And that's a tough, you just said it, that's a hard discipline, following through. If you do this, then this is how I'm going to hold you accountable. They do it, and I don't hold them accountable because it's hard, because they get mad at you and da, 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 da. But
Mm-hmm.
I was good at following through, and sometimes I was told that I'm the worst dad ever, and I would say you're probably right, but I'm not the one who has to sit in my room. But you know, so I kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it. And respect goes through the roof. Responsibility starts forming. Just good quality children, and that is what we want to hammer home in the community. And this is how you take a look at it. So, you know, one thing I want to say about discipline: this isn't about being in the military, bouncing things off your sheets and everything perfect. That's this is about your life and living the life of your dreams and being fulfilled and feeling connected and joyous and happy, and maybe not every minute, but knowing how to get back to that state is what we're talking about. So what I would ask is, do you find yourself, because we live in a busy world, busy lives, do you find yourself just doing for the kids because it's quicker, and deep down, you know, they could do this, like empty the dishwasher, vacuum, mop floors, clean windows, cut lawns, kind of, depending on vision. But so there's all sorts of things that kids can do. And I have four sisters and a brother, and 4 out of 6 of us are legally blind. Guess what? I had chores growing up, cutting the lawn and weeding up. So my dad, and he held me accountable. So if I blew off something, there was a price to pay. He never said, I know, I was just kidding. I really am not going to follow through on that, because I don't want to teach you what discipline is. So these are the lessons. So I would just take a look at, if it seems like the kid's struggling a bit, and he's saying, coming home from school, she coming home saying the teacher this, or my TVI that and this, when you're starting to blame outside, that's a good indication that things aren't working or
Hmm.
you're complaining or blaming. So, for step one is, well, how can I be more disciplined in my approach as a leader, as a parent? And as you know, these children are looking up to you way more than you can ever imagine, blind or not. And that's step one. And us, like me, I don't I don't need to have 43 things to do every day that are strictly disciplined. Actually, that I wouldn't do well with that. I need to have focus days, buffer days, and free days. So I have focus time, then I have buffer. That means I'm doing something, but I can shift. I can just go in a different direction. That's okay as long as it's aligned with growing the business type of thing. And then free day is free. I don't, could be I'm going to cut the lawn for a bit or go on a bike ride or take a nap, but none of it's none of it's disciplined. You know what I mean? So these are the things because we do these videos and what Kristen and I want is we want to offer ideas and things that we've implemented and practiced in our life that help us grow, and so that's kind of why I'm bringing that up. It's like, listening to this is great, but if you watch this and say that's good stuff, somehow it's just gonna percolate in my mind and I'll just start doing it. That's not no. This is for me. It was 30 minutes. I actually then I went from the hour to 30 minutes because the hour was torture when I was doing the timing.
Hmm.
But then it got better. Then it got easier because I let go of the this is so hard. I let go of the story and just focused, and then time passed the way it was supposed to. So this is regret is it's terrible. And it could be I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. The way I was living my life, I wasn't feeling good. I blaming I regretted being born. I hated having low vision. I, re, there was so many things. And since I don't know why I hate my eye disease so much, I turned to things to medicate myself. And that created more regret.
Mm.
It was a vicious cycle. It's like everything I did to ease the pain created more pain because it wasn't discipline. It wasn't taking responsibility. It wasn't holding a mirror up and saying, I am creating my suffering in my life. And that was the beauty of, the regret of drinking. And it wasn't, it was the next day. It was what maybe happened during the drinking or, saying things I wish I didn't when I was sober, which, you know what I mean? Like I'm angry and I don't have this pausing mechanism. I have a reaction to because I take it personally. So these are all signs of things. Oh, I need to work on that. First, I got to make an amends. And then I got to take a look at this because I just want to get better and the constant, never ending improvement.
I'm sitting here thinking, Charlie, it really, I believe all of this comes back to the word that you said in the very beginning, which is goal. People that have read my book know, and they brought it up on the academy call last night in the parent group about when I was walking down the center aisle of the conference, and saw a family that was operating on the right in a way that would be my worst nightmare, enabling this teenager, and one on the left, which is what I really wanted, was arguing with a blind teenager about skateboarding. It was in that moment that I set the goal, right, for my life with my kids. I wanted to be arguing about skateboarding in a hotel as opposed to which cookies I did not bring them, the incorrect cookies. And that was all that I could establish as the goal. I didn't know how I was going to get there. But then I had to make a plan. And I always had that goal in mind. It was painfully acute in my mind of that girl in her late teens screaming at her parents that they had delivered the wrong cookies and juice to her. And it made me laugh hysterically thinking about the skateboarder that was blind, our teenager, arguing with his mother about skateboarding in hotel hallways. So when Mitchell was sitting alone at lunch and I really wanted to help him and solve the problem for him, that's what prevented me and gave me the discipline to back up. I had that goal in mind. I didn't want him to become that person screaming about cookies. When Michael, when I first went to the number one school district in the state and very high in the country, I purposefully moved to the school district to educate my kids. And we started in kindergarten and they had no idea how to educate him. So what did I do? Blew up, freaked out, yelled at everybody. That got me nowhere for at least 4 months, and then finally reeled it in and figured out how to communicate better. But I will say this, with the goal of a fully educated child in a non combative environment, I wanted everybody to work as a team in that school. The next year, when Michael came home in tears saying first grade was so hard, and this is a kid that is so gifted, it was bizarre, knowing that the goal was to have like that happy child skateboarding through hallways, and knowing that I did not want him growing up in a hostile combative school environment, I went to the school and said, to your point earlier, Charlie, about taking responsibility, can we just walk me through what is happening in the day? What are they working on? And how is Michael accessing it? And that's where we found the breakdown. They had brought in a sub. The sub didn't know certain equipment. Like there was no. We talked about in the mentor call yesterday. There was no scaffolding in place to support my son. So then worked with the team collaboratively to say, okay, where were all the breakdowns and how can we put it back together? And that was actually, it seems like it would have been the most painful part of my journey. It was one of the pivotal moments of my journey when I stuck to that goal of happy, thriving child, fully educated and living the life of his dreams in a non-combative way. I was able to walk in there with a level head and just look at the system that we had in place as opposed to blaming everybody and blindness that my son wasn't achieving. And we were able to turn that ship around in within a couple of weeks. We did have to fire somebody that wasn't doing their job. Didn't regret that at all. I used to regret, I used to not like confrontation and all of that. That was something I will never regret, because that person just wasn't a good piece of the scaffolding for to support Michael. But it really all, when I think of all the pivotal moments, it really is that there was a clear goal. And I don't mean clear in terms of I knew how I was going to get there. It was a clear goal of what I didn't want for the most part.
Mm.
And then what I did want, I had a picture of it in my mind and was able to and to this day I do that. I mean, the funny thing is when I was talking about running and exercising earlier, it used to be the goal was woo, looking amazing in that pair of jeans. Now that's just a wonderful byproduct of what my real goal is, feeling amazing, working at my absolute best, and using all my brain cells that are up there so that I can accomplish the things that I want. All the other stuff is just fun byproducts. But I really think this discipline thing is rooted in the goal and taking responsibility for that goal.
Hmm. And we talk thriving success goals, and it's okay if you know, you could call it something else. Oh, I'm not a goal oriented person. Are you a person that likes to improve your skill sets, or you want to introduce more kindness? You want to make better connections? Those types of things, call it what you need to, but create a way to start stepping into that and stay disciplined on it, because you won't get the result without it. And um, I have not been cured of undisciplined. I think humans, especially those that are like rudderless ships that get up and live, they get up, They do whatever they do in the morning. They go out the door. They go to work. They do what they do there. Nothing. It's kind of the same old. They come home. They eat dinner. They watch TV. They go to bed. I think that's if they didn't have a job, they might not go somewhere. If their boss said, "Oh, you just come in whenever you want," you know what I mean. So there's structures in our life, like school. I had to go. I wouldn't have, but I would have gotten in trouble. So, people will set disciplines for us, but I like to be in charge of them. And, humans are undisciplined. I wasn't taught it in school. They didn't, they didn't even teach how to study for a test. Like, this is how you might want to chunk this down and go. I don't remember any of that. They just said, we're having a test. And it's like, So, knowing that and seeing that in my life and seeing it's still there at times. And, and also, Kristen, I think what we do is we say yes sometimes where we shouldn't have, and it's going to take some discipline, and then all of a sudden, that kindled that interest because I wasn't committed. So I just keep taking a look at this stuff. I don't have it figured out. I just want to be, more content and more ease, more contentment in my life, and not be focused on what I do wrong and regrets and that. And I'm not, but those are the good indications. Those are the red flags. Those are the things that say you're off course a little. What can I do? How can I get back on course? And do I know the course? Is there a course I'm actually on?
Well, in wrapping this up, Charlie, I think that you actually just made a brilliant statement that takes everybody from where we began in the beginning of this with the word pain attached to discipline to where we are at now with a lot of the things that we are disciplined about, and that's contentment. You just used that word. It is not painful for me to stay disciplined in the things that I'm having the wonderful results on because I've been working at this for so long and I've switched my mindset. Like, it is actually makes me happy and content to stay on track, on course with certain goals I have because I know that they're going to be achieved and I know that there's not going to be regret. And it's phenomenal. So I'm interested to know from folks that have listened all the way through, have watched this all the way through, if you're starting to see that discipline, just in this 30 minutes we've been together, that discipline isn't necessarily a painful thing. In the beginning, yes, but to start looking at it in this positive, heading towards contentment and fulfillment and regretless. I may have just invented a word. Regretless life, that it is so much better than a painful one. But like I said before, there are times you got to walk through that fire of putting new things in place to stay disciplined. So I'm interested to hear from folks in the comments. If you are seeing this in a new light, if you've had this experience, let us know with one of the pieces of your journey where you stayed disciplined and whether it was hard or not, or did it get easier? And let's all support each other on this journey of staying disciplined and not having the pain of regret.
I'm in. Sign me up. I'm free next Tuesday. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So that's fantastic. And please like this video. And why I ask and we ask that is because it helps the algorithms. And it might pop up on a person, a parent, or a low vision. Somebody searching something. One of ours could be very helpful. So that helps us. And of course, subscribe and share it if you feel it has a good enough value for your community, your network. That would be great.
Awesome. It's been awesome being of service again today here with Charlie on our Kristen and Charlie chats. And we'll see you all again next time.
Thank you for watching. Here is another video we did on discipline and habits. And basic principle is that discipline certainly is hard in the beginning, but if practiced day by day over time, it turns it into a habit which makes life much easier.